It is Tuesday, April 27th. It's 1:16 a.m. This is Erica Lorraine Spencer. This is the P.O.C. This is ongoing documentation as I am honing in on what is the third party spectrum. Spectrum represents the people of the state of California that is acting in its commercial capacity, engaged in the criminal elements of monitoring via a communication device inside of a private space, acting pursuant to the same identical behavioral patterns, engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, engaged in criminal facilitation of federal group stalking and monitoring, engaged in that pattern of conduct which is inherently sexually violent, predatory, perverted group conduct, in concert and on behalf of the state of California. So understand the significance of this documentation, that it's focusing in on the people of the state of California acting via spectrum. Okay, my documentation has captured spectrum physically coming and being present under the state's directed light, in relevant position vicariously in my path on behalf of the state that is also present, stalking via police, fire, and ambulance, and planes and helicopters at third-party facilitating venue Economy Inn. I documented, I published that, and not only at Economy Inn, I have encountered the people of the state of California acting via spectrum in their vehicles as I am at for example, in Costa Mesa, California, where I was actually at the Teston Park, and I published this. This was occurring in, I believe it was November, when I was documenting third-party group stalkers, as I began awareness of the fact that absolute strangers were engaging in this, what is now a behavioral pattern amongst the people of the state of California who are monitoring in concert with the state. But at that time, I was just beginning to document what was this peculiar conduct by absolute strangers, including spectrum in their commercial vehicles under what is the state's light source that was remaining directly over me as I traveled from city to city, county to county, from San Bernardino County to Los Angeles County to Orange County, back to what is now, I'm in Ontario in San Bernardino County, but I have engaged in ongoing documentation for years now. Spectrum engaged in P.O.C. at Country Village Apartments in Jurupa, which is Riverside County, under the state's light source, creating light activity in relevant position. This is intentional and deliberate conduct. This is the systematic means. In Spectrum using its commercial means, its commercial vehicle, its employees representing the people of the state of California, acting in that capacity, using their business, their trade, their position, using their presence, their internet operated services for purposes of monitoring inside of a private space. That's the significance of what Spectrum is engaged in at Economy Inn. And so this is nothing new with regard to Spectrum and my highlighting this third party. This is speaking to the expansive system that the state of California is operating, the public entity, the government. Spectrum is nothing other than a third party. It is a commercial third party. This is the people of the state acting via a company or brand, if you will. The exact same elements are present, the exact same hallmarks are present, and the third party is acting pursuant to that same behavioral pattern. And so this is, again, these concepts which are a matter of justice under federal policy to be established and enforced, which is the fact that, first of all, the public entity, the state of California, is a sex offender. Okay, this is based on the criminal conduct of a government it's engaging in group conduct. This is that entity engaged in sexually violent conduct. It is a sex offender for more than one reason, but just general. This is going to the people of the state of California, acting with a public entity that is monitoring, even acting as a commercial third party, using that company, using that brand, using that logo, using that business establishment, using those services that you provide, whatever it is at your disposal, in other words, to engage in that exact same system. Engaging in those same criminal elements pursuant to that same behavioral pattern, even when you are in a private space, while you are subject to corporate invasion of privacy. This is that which a company is engaged in, acting on behalf of the government. So you are looking at what is vicarious conduct on behalf of a government. Spectrum is a sex offender. Understand that this is based on conduct. Spectrum is engaged in corporate invasion of privacy by entity, engaging in monitoring in concert with the people of the state that are in relevant position to me. Spectrum also coming and being in relevant position to me at this venue, as I documented in video, but also engaging and using its provision of services to the communication device, which is the television, inside of this room at Economy Inn, where I remain subject to federal group stalking and monitoring to date. And so today, what I just want to go on and continue to make sure I punctuate is the fact that, first of all, that was none other than documentation of Spectrum coming in, participating, and being documented and exposed as the criminal sex offending group stalker that it is. This is based on the criminal conduct. This is based on conduct, okay? This is not opining anything. This is the inevitable conclusions based on the criminal acts as they are committed, irrespective of your identity, your the capacity, the means by which you are engaging in the criminal elements, all these false premises upon which the state's system relies on. All of that is stripped down. You're looking at the elements. Spectrum is a sex offender. Spectrum is monitoring inside of this private space. Spectrum is also engaged in what is federal level harassment, while it is ceaselessly monitoring in concert with the state. And how is it doing so? Doing so through its use of the communication device, which is the television. And let's be clear, since April 15th, when Spectrum came in and engaged in criminally threatening conduct, coming up close to monitor me in relevant position, and doing so pursuant to ongoing knowledge of everything that I am documenting, using the communication device, which is the television, as a means of maintaining presence, which is loitering in relevant position, vicariously present on behalf of that state that is directing light, that is amplifying and creating, literally making up noises to keep me surrounded with audible activity, while group stalkers, as I documented, maintaining presence, patrolling, loitering in relevant position outside of the room. This is P.O.C. And to date, let's be clear, that conduct has continued, as I have already established that history of documenting the use of the television inside of what is a private space. So this is speaking to not only as I captured on video or as I capture it on podcast, this is what Spectrum, i.e. third parties, i.e. the people of the state of California, are engaged on a ceaseless basis. You are a sex offender when you are engaged in that level of invasion of privacy, when you are engaged in the criminal elements of monitoring while the target individual is physically indisposed. You know this while you are creating that activity. The state knows this while it is directing light and invading light and amplifying, literally creating noises to surround you while you are in that physically indisposed state in that private space. And also understand the other aspect of it with regard to the state's ongoing knowledge of everything that you're doing as you're doing it, including the documentation of that criminal conduct. The state engages in that federal level of harassment while it is engaging in that sexually violent conduct. And so, how is Spectrum tied into this? First of all, the pattern of conduct use of the television has not stopped. Spectrum did not repair anything. It was that which has a history of being documented at this venue, but inside of any private space. Like I said, it was occurring inside of Woodside Senior Apartments, for example, while I was kidnapped inside of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department's facility, West Valley, Glen Helen, for example. Whoever those televisions are serviced by, understand that they were using those communication devices as a means of monitoring. This is not a new method. This is P.O.C. You are looking at all the ways in which a government is monitoring systematically and maintaining absolute control over everything in your environment. Nothing that you are hearing, nothing that you see, nothing that is around you or any person that is around you is occurring or present idly or for no purpose whatsoever. It is all serving that criminal system, which is ceaselessly underway. Spectrum is inevitably engaged in that, not only based on the fact that they were documented here in my presence, and I have also documented Spectrum license plates before in relevant position group stalking while I am out subject to the system. But because of the fact that the communication device, that is the television, is used pursuant to that same identical behavioral pattern, which is the absence of coincidence. And I just want to be clear, where you are establishing the state's pattern of conduct, it is not a matter of if it's going to occur. By if, I mean you're talking about engagement in the criminal elements. It's not a matter of if what is around you is going to occur or unfold pursuant to that same behavioral pattern. It's not a matter of if. It is. And it is a matter of someone with the ability to identify it such that it can be readily identified by more than just my person. This is exposing how a government is monitoring, and it is through literally every single thing that you can think of, literally by manufacturing noise through the walls, through the ceilings, through the floors, which is what the state does. Doing so in a private space is sexually violent conduct. It's group conduct. While the state is doing that, Spectrum is engaging in monitoring you as well. So while I am, for example, in my bed, and I am moving about, if I touch my phone, I engage in any sort of abrupt movement, and the television is a means of creating activity, you're not just listening at that moment. This is the implication of that conduct is that you are listening at all moments. Okay, you are a sex offender. You are not in any way not linked to that same criminal pattern of conduct. And I want to be clear, the use of the television has not stopped at all. The exact same conduct on a daily basis has continued. So I want to be clear on that. That was P.O.C. And that is what Spectrum, through that employee whose license plate I documented, representing the people of the state of California with nothing other than a company name in front of that name, in front of his name, monitoring and representing Spectrum. Spectrum is engaging in monitoring American citizens. Spectrum is a sex offender. Spectrum is engaged in corporate invasion of privacy by entity. Spectrum is engaged in federal level harassment while it is monitoring the documentation about it and about the venue where I'm at and about the third parties who are at this venue acting with the state. Okay. And so today, again, I want to be clear. It is currently 1:27 a.m. And this is just to demonstrate what Spectrum is constantly engaged in. Okay. Using the parental block, meaning you have to enter in some sort of PIN to unblock the channel where the channels are not blocked. And as I have captured in images and video, the only blocked channel is the adult channel. And I specifically captured this in pictures last night where Spectrum engaged in the exact same conduct. And then as I begin taking pictures of it, then they block all the channels. Okay. And this is not only, first of all, it's P.O.C. All right. This is already established because the state of California's pattern of conduct is already established. You are literally taking down names of third parties and how they're engaging in the elements. That's how you're going to prosecute, period. And so it's P.O.C., it's monitoring. Then you engage in blocking all the channels. This is ongoing harassment while you are monitoring the documentation about you. All right. So you're aware of the fact that you're being documented, and then you engage in more of the same, which is that's going to be legally relevant as to that federal level of harassment while you're monitoring, while you are engaged in what is also sexually violent conduct, activity creation, in the same way that no third party that is driving past you and touching you with their headlights, this is not normal conduct. It is under the facts of a government that's monitoring you. So those headlights that are touching your person take on a whole other legal significance. The audible activity that's created by the television, the activity that's created inside of this room while Spectrum is intentionally engaging in using it as a means of stalking with activity, using it as a means of harassment, using it as a means of maintaining activity creation in this room, all right? That is taking on a whole legal context. It's not ordinary conduct in the galaxy of a monitoring government. Everything is taking on a legal context, all right? And this is how you prosecute a government, and this is how you prosecute the people of the state that are monitoring with that government. There is no right whatsoever to engage in what would otherwise be ordinary, but it is not ordinary because the government is monitoring, and the government is monitoring in concert and vicariously by the people of the state in every which way that you can fathom. And so this activity is a means of not only monitoring, it is a means of federal harassment while you are monitoring that documentation. And this is that which is also occurring while you are in any physically indisposed state, while you are engaged in any private activity, because you are always subject to this ongoing surveillance and monitoring by third parties, maintaining constructive presence inside of that private space with you. All right. This is taking on that. It's a means of personification, if you will, that entity acting through everything that is around you, including inanimate objects. This is that demonic feature, okay? This is criminal conduct, but you're looking at what the state is doing, and it literally takes on that demonic personification, and it is serving a criminal purpose, okay? And so since 11, I would say approximately 11:15, I am online editing my website specifically about what is the monitoring me inside of the private space, which is not new. This is P.O.C. I've already established this. Every third party that I specifically identify is a sex offending group stalker and a psychopath. They're engaging in this system. They are a group stalker. Under federal law, you shall be treated as an extremely violent sex offender. That is inherent to the pattern of conduct, whether you are a private actor or a commercial actor. All right. These are legal concepts to be implemented under that which shall be enforced against the state of California and the people of the state of California that are monitoring with it. And so at approximately like 11:15 to 11:18, what is seen is, because what is heard is the ratcheting up of activity, right? The state is always maintaining activity, but like I said, this environment is literally reacting on a constant basis to everything that I am doing, everything that I am documenting, everything that I'm publishing. And so as I publish the fact that the owner/manager at Economy Inn is a sex offender. All right, I publish his video onto my website. I'm speaking to the fact of what I advocate, which is deportation of the people of the state of California who are not natural born citizens by virtue of the fact that they are here monitoring American citizens, violating the constitutional rights and the human rights of American citizens, while you are here benefiting under that same constitution and doing so in concert with the government. All right, that is literally commissioning that sort of criminal conduct. This is, like I stated, and which I advocate, is the quintessential demonstration of unworthiness to remain in this country. All right. There is, there are other things that are atrocious, but this is a whole other unprecedented level of criminal conduct by government acting via the people. And the stripping down, the breaking, the implosion of this system is requiring those who are not even natural born citizens. You do not have the right to be in this country and violate the Constitution, violate the constitutional rights of American citizens. And I happen to be one who was very much aware of my constitutional rights and my human rights, and the fact that no other third party should be able to remain in this country having been federally prosecuted, documented as a group stalker. Being a group stalker has federal repercussions. It has implications, plenty of which to be expounded upon. But that is one of them. And so as I publish this video onto my website, I'm in the midst of updating it, of editing it. A whole bunch of activity is picking up even louder, okay, than it already is. The state is making booming noises in the bathroom. Understand, as I am uploading podcasts about that which I documented back in 2020, 2019. This animosity is communicated through the very conduct. Understand that. They are communicating this hostility. This is harassment while you are monitoring. The fact that you are beating through the walls and the state is amplifying and literally creating noise. Okay, the state is amplifying when a third-party group stalker is walking back, either walking back and forth or having multiple third parties walk past. It's patrolling regardless. You're either using one face or you're using a multiplicity of faces to do the exact same thing. The state is working with third parties. It's concerted conduct. That's amplification. The state literally engages in just engineering noise in the same way that was not the train that you're hearing honking while I'm living in a car at the north end of Vine Avenue, in my car at Vine and G Street, and in the third party's car at Fern and G Street. You're not hearing the train. That's the state creating what is the sound of the train, and doing so for purposes of monitoring. And then it also serves the purpose of harassment, all right? As they're listening to me create a podcast about their criminal conduct, they are literally communicating hostility in that form. All right. This is the way in which it is communicating hostility. It is also the communication of a threat. And how are you deducing what is intent? Because you know that you're not hearing a train from that distance. In the same way, you are not hearing traffic from this distance inside of the bathroom while you are standing at the sink, while I'm even in my bed with the door closed. All right. You are not experiencing earthquakes as third parties are walking past and doing so intentionally, doing so loudly, standing in front of the door while I am publishing information. You're monitoring, and you're also engaging in communication of a threat. And what is Spectrum doing while I am engaging in this? While third parties are seen on the cameras, they are engaging and monitoring 24/7. All right. Everything that they are doing is inspired by what they are listening to me do 24/7. But I'm speaking to this time window where I am engaged in the specific act of uploading a video about the third party group stalker that is the Economy Inn owner/manager whose license plate, the video is published onto my website, thepatternofconduct.wordpress.com. And I am speaking to what is ongoing criminal conduct where you are a facilitator, meaning you are entertaining, welcoming, acting in concert with the state, acting in concert with third parties. That third party conduct on these grounds is attributed to the owner, to the manager, all right, to whoever property it is, in the same way that the people of the state of California, their criminal conduct is attributed to the state. So every time that third parties, and this is the state that is creating noise through the floor, underneath the toilet, through the walls, beside the shower, behind the mirror in front of the vanity as I'm washing my hands at the sink, or washing my face or brush, whatever it is that I'm doing, and Spectrum engaging in that same behavioral pattern. Understand, Spectrum is also acting pursuant to that same behavioral pattern. It is not in any way different because it is a company name. This is speaking to the uniform treatment of the people of the state of California, irrespective of the guise under which they are engaging in what is psychopath level, sexually violent, predatory, perverted group conduct. And Spectrum is engaged in what is federal level harassment. And at around 11:15 at the same time, group stalkers begin patrolling. The state begins playing even louder the sound of what is supposed to be cars speeding down the street. The volume is not changing. It's literally just creating noise, vocalizing, not vocalizing, but literally the communication, the implied communication, and reasonably construed as such, of a hostility to what it knows that I'm publishing. All right. It knows the fact of what I am uploading onto my website. All right. And so you have this pickup of activity, and at the same time, Spectrum blocks the television. This is the Nickelodeon channel. Using the means, how is Spectrum doing this? All it has to do is block the signal, which I also took pictures of, blocking channels as I'm changing the channel. This is harassment, and this is literally stalking as I'm going through the channels on the TV. All right, you're struggling to change the channel, and understand there is no failure of signal. Okay, in the same way that the Spectrum is using the television by show by show, every time a show changes, the menu, again, this is not the operation of the television. This is the controlling of that television by the third parties. Okay. And so a new television comes on. That's an opportunity for them to create activity. That is also reasonably implied as an ongoing threat every time that they are operating this television and the menu shows up on the TV screen by itself. All right. This is monitoring conduct that's reasonably construed as an ongoing threat, federal level harassment, and federal level threatening conduct by a third party acting in concert with the state, controlling the communication device inside of a private space, and doing so. So it's operating in this regard, but when I try to change the channel, or when I try to turn on the TV guide, or when I want to engage in using my phone to document or publish, all of a sudden, it stops working, okay? And then as I take pictures of it, all the channels are blocked, okay? This is the ongoing federal level harassment by Spectrum. Spectrum is a third party acting pursuant to the same identical behavioral patterns. It is a sex offender. This is group conduct. It is not individualized, and you're not going to be treated differently because you happen to be identified by a company name versus an individual name such as Tracy Banks. Okay, it is P.O.C, and I want to be clear. This is hours now. It is currently 1:38 a.m. and that was at around 11:18 p.m. And my paper trail on the internet, what I'm doing online, all of this is relevant. What the surveillance cameras show, it's all tethered together. What the state is doing, and to date, this is just tying in what Spectrum is inextricably tethered to. The same conduct, doing it inside of the private space. Blocking the channels so that I can't watch TV while you're monitoring me, that's federal level harassment. Blocking all the channels once I start taking pictures and video of it because you're monitoring and you know exactly what I'm doing, that's ongoing federal harassment, all right? And it is in no way outside of the pattern of conduct. You're monitoring. That's already established. It is monitoring, and this is going toward that prosecution of that actor identified as Spectrum. There was no malfunction prior to April 15th when third-party Spectrum came inside of this room, and it is the ongoing criminal conduct now as my documentation has established. And so what you have are the ongoing picking up of activity outside of this room. They're walking back and forth. The state is creating loud noise as they're walking back. I've captured video where you see the planes that are far away in the sky, but it's amplified inside of my room. How do I know that a plane is flying? Because the state is amplifying it inside of my room. The state is literally playing a tape It's like playing a boombox of the sound of a plane over my room, using a boombox to blast the sound of what is helicopter activity while the helicopter is seen way far, far away. You would ordinarily not hear that. Why? How do I know? It's not because I'm clairvoyant, not in that regard, but it's because the state is amplifying it, which is the P.O.C. All right. So I have termed it amplification. However, the state is doing it, and it is targeted audible activity, which is how you monitor. Third parties are aware of the fact that they are operating under directed light, that they are operating under what is a fake sun, that they are operating under what is amplification of audible activity, targeting audible activity, while they are creating activity as well, standing around, being a group stalker, listening to me, knowing exactly what I'm doing inside of the room, and they wait to close their trunk, they wait to close their door, they wait to close the the hotel room door, and the state is creating what is supposed to be earthquakes. The state is amplifying this sound inside of the room. This is communication of hostility. Spectrum is engaged in that, blocking television with simultaneity to my activity inside of this room. Okay, doing so while I am inside of a private space, engaged in corporate invasion of privacy, acting pursuant, facilitating the state's ability to monitor inside of a private space. You are a group stalker. You are a sex offender. All right. A violent sex offender. This is as violent as it gets. This is group conduct. This is an unprecedented level of invasion of privacy. This is at all times and at all places. So this is what the Ontario Health Center was engaged in. This is what the Ontario Ovid Family Library was engaged in. All of them together, while they're monitoring, are listening to you in the bathroom, while you're undressing, while you're using the bathroom, everything that you are doing inside of that private space, engaged in what is personal activity, they are listening, including the state, which is stalking by planes and helicopters over that location, wherever you happen to be. You are an extraordinarily violent sex offender when you are a group stalker under the treatment of federal law, necessary federal law, which I advocate. That's S.I.I.S, federal legislation, systematic infliction of inhumane suffering. And this is ongoing documentation to establish how Spectrum is engaged in that. Spectrum is a third party. Spectrum is a third party group stalker who is engaged in corporate invasion of privacy, sexually violent conduct, federal level harassment, and ongoing threatening conduct, while it continues to monitor, continues to facilitate monitoring, acting in concert with the state, facilitating the ability of all the third-party group stalkers who are on this property in close quarters on surveillance cameras, including the owner, which is facilitating this conduct, acting in concert to it, and it is all attributed to him. So the state that is engaging in the criminal conduct on this property is acting in concert with it. They're acting as one group, and that conduct is shared by the group. So this is P.O.C, and it's 1:43 a.m., and I have shown pictures, I've shown video. That same conduct is ongoing, all right? Because I remain in the space, and monitoring is going to continue while I remain in the private space. The type of venue I'm at is speaking to the criminal conduct that they're engaged in, because the fact that P.O.C is continuous is not a question. It's a matter of how they are doing it, and Spectrum is definitely engaged in it. Spectrum went the extra mile to provide documentation of them physically coming and being present while that ongoing use of the television continues. All right. And so I want to be clear. The other thing that I stated, I uploaded to the share drive already, the ways in which that the television is used as a means by Spectrum, facilitating third parties and the state to monitor me inside of a private space. This is the use of the television, blocking all the channels, as I after they block one channel, and then they block all of them once I start taking pictures or documenting it via audio or documenting it by video. This is an implausible attempt, I suppose. I'm not even going to try to venture and make some sort of, because there is no argument for it. It's P.O.C. This is already established, but this is under the false notion that if you just block all the channels, well, then it's not targeting. We're blocking all the channel. I mean, it's unclear, but you're talking about an entity that has been documented from 2018. And that's just in the most direct form. Everywhere that I have been, everywhere that I have worked, everywhere that I've gone is a matter of history that remains to exist. And that's a matter of documentation. And so what you have with Spectrum, they engage in more and more of the same, which is the public entity's pattern of conduct. I've demonstrated this in video. I've demonstrated this in my podcast. As I'm standing outside of the car that I used to live in, and I'm describing how the state would roar airplanes, and then the state goes and on my podcast literally engages in sounding a plane engine. all right, where there's no plane flying directly. They're literally providing an audio snippet of what I'm describing on my podcast, okay? This is the entity that I'm documenting. Okay, so you're talking about, first of all, a level of communicating an impervious threat. That's what this is relevant to. So I'm going to tether it to the policy. And Spectrum is definitely engaged in that. Not only is it engaged in monitoring, it is engaged in criminal obstruction of justice. These acts of threatening conduct, engaging in ongoing monitoring while you are, based on the nature of the crime, you're aware of what I'm documenting. You're aware, in other words, that what you're doing is known, and that is a reasonable communication for you to stop. You have no intention of stopping. You are acting on behalf of a government that is not stopping. You are communicating a threat. You are also engaged in sexually violent conduct. You are also engaging in criminal facilitation of that conduct, which is also sexually violent group conduct. You are engaged in what is the communication of an of an impermissible threat, all right, which is also that which you shall be subject to at federal prosecution. I want to be clear that the third-party Spectrum is engaged in all of this, all right? Corporate invasion of privacy, harassment, and threatening threatening conduct, which is construed by the ceaseless manner with which they are monitoring inside of the private space. In doing so, while the state is turning up what is noise through the walls and the ceilings, and all of this is occurring while I'm uploading this video about the manager, the owner at Economy Inn, who is a group stalker, who is worthy of being deported out of this country based on his criminal conduct. While I am publishing this on the website, you have and this is the demonic aspect. This is what I'm speaking about. It's monitoring, understand that, but this is the demonic conduct that they are engaged in. You hearing a whole bunch of booming coming through the walls. Now you're hearing, first of all, through the walls, through the ceilings, through different locations inside of the room. And then you have group stalkers that are seen on the surveillance camera standing out. They're smoking in front of the room. They're walking back and forth in front of the room. And understand, everything that they're doing is taken on legal context. They're literally engaging in monitoring conduct on camera. And I'm providing the ongoing context, which I've already shown in video as well. Everything that they're doing, I'm giving you what is the audible activity that is married to that, what is the ongoing light activity that is married to that. They're doing it all under a fake sun. They're doing it all under what is directed light. They're doing it all under circumstances of a stalking entity by plane and helicopter, police, fire, and ambulance. They're doing it all while the state is literally targeting audible activity inside of this room. And so while I am engaged in this, Spectrum gets its hand in the P.O.C, which is no distraction from what I'm doing. This is the futility with which the entity acts. And so aside from my explaining my understanding of how this entity works and how it functions, it's sick, right? It's sick. It is demonic, right? It is that which is of a psychopath shared amongst a group, okay? You're talking about the entity, that which is of Satan, dispersed amongst a group. They're engaging in that conduct on behalf of that demonic entity. That's literally what it is. But aside from that relevant context, you're talking about what is criminal conduct by a group of people acting on behalf of a government that is present, engaged in stalking and monitoring. That's the legal relevance of what the government is engaged in, and the government is doing it vicariously. Where I happen to be is at Economy Inn at 2301 South Euclid Avenue. Spectrum, a third-party commercial company representing the people of the state, is definitely engaged in ceaseless engagement in that criminal conduct. That criminal conduct happens to be sexually violent. That criminal conduct happens to be of a federal level of harassment and threatening conduct on behalf of a government. This is that which is shared by Spectrum. And so this is hours of disabling the television, which I continue to document. Spectrum doing this on a daily basis. Spectrum doing so while it is aware of what I'm doing as I'm doing it. And so whether I'm documenting what Spectrum is doing via the television, or whether I am online and publishing more on my podcast or more onto my website, Spectrum is actively engaged in that. And so that's not only monitoring, it's criminal facilitation, and it is also criminal obstruction of justice, the ways in which I have spelled that out. And so it is 1:49 a.m. And this is ongoing daily conduct. Let's be clear. Also, there is no argument, but it's my job to point out the obvious. The pure, numerous accounts of this happening over and over again is also the absence of coincidence. This is a pattern of conduct. This is a pattern of conduct that also happens to be the ways in which you monitor with communication devices. That's not a coincidence. And the fact that it is happening every single day, and it is. This is every single day, and this is a communication device, and this is a private space inside of a hotel room where I happen to be subject to all of the hallmarks and the elements as I have already broken down. Spectrum is a third party. Spectrum is documented as such, and Spectrum shall be prosecuted as such, providing ongoing wealth of documentation and in no way distracting from what it is I am doing, which is uploading podcasts onto my website and about what occurred and what I documented in 2020. So pay attention to that. This is the futility of the entity. Not only am I going to document, but I'm going to provide what is ongoing proof of the monitoring system. Not based on the nature of the crime you're monitoring. And then you also know what I'm documenting and what I'm publishing because you're monitoring. And so they engage in the pattern of conduct even more so because they want me to stop focusing on that, which it's not. That's not happening. I am going to prosecute Spectrum for that federal level of harassment and threatening conduct. It is a sex offender, all right, using what it has at its disposal to monitor inside of a private space while it is engaged in criminal conduct, which is corporate invasion of privacy by entity, acting pursuant to the same behavioral pattern. You're listening in order to stalk with activity using the television. And this is an internet operated communication device. All they're doing is blocking the signal. That's all they're doing in order to block my ability to change the channel, to block the ability for the guide to upload. So I can't see the information about the channels. It's so juvenile and sophomoric, but it's entirely criminal. And it is very serious criminal conduct, all right, by the people of the state acting via Spectrum. And that is P.O.C. It's 1:51 a.m. Again, it's Tuesday, April 27th, 2021. And I continue to upload what are pictures and video of that conduct. It has not stopped since April 15th. And there was no fixing of anything. That was monitoring. That was direct evidence against Spectrum to be prosecuted along with the rest of those who I specifically identify within what is the group of that are third parties, the people of the state of California. That is one group acting vicariously. This is how a government monitors. All I have done is I have gone the extra mile and I have specifically identified actors within that group. And that is just for purposes of making an example, for purposes of establishing what is a very real crime that the government engages in, and that which the people of the state, wherever they are, whatever government is engaging in it, shall suffer. This is establishing policy. This is establishing precedent and making an example out of what is sickness. This is demonic group criminal conduct operated by a government acting in concert with the people of the state. And like I said, I want to be clear, Spectrum is a third party and as they are fully engaged in P.O.C. while I remain at this venue. And again, based on the nature of the business that Spectrum provides, you are looking at what is the ability of the people of the state of California through such a company to monitor systematically American citizens inside of private spaces, all right? But also inside of public spaces, wherever you have a television, all right? But I'm speaking to the legal relevance is inside of a private space. That's a whole other level of violation. Speaking to what you are engaging in on a ceaseless basis. So you're not just listening while I'm sitting in the living room. You're listening while I'm physically indisposed and monitoring inside of a private space inside of a private residence or the private residence of a third party or a hotel room where you are maintaining a reasonable expectation of privacy. And so that's P.O.C. And this is the federal charges, which are indiscriminate, regardless of your specific identity. It is P.O.C. It's Tuesday, April 27, 2021, 9:04 p.m. Ongoing group stalking at Economy Inn. This is 228. But understand this is actually the state that is acting via third parties who hit objects and the state amplifies it. This is why you hear a loud noise inside of the room. They are monitoring my uploading my podcast. And in addition to that demonic feature is that hostility that's communicated through their criminal conduct of monitoring. So they are both accomplishing what is federal group stalking and monitoring by creating audible activity that the state is amplifying. That's concerted conduct. And they are also engaged in that demonic feature of communicating a threat through that conduct, which is accomplishing the purpose of monitoring. Again, it's 9:05 p.m. occurring with simultaneity to my operation on the communication device while they are monitoring what I'm uploading onto my podcast and the videos as I'm reviewing them. This is P.O.C. Hello, this is 227. Can you communicate to 228 to stop hitting on the walls, please? All right, thank you. All right. That is that's analogous to Spectrum coming and repairing the cable that is not an actual disrepair, it's monitoring. And this is monitoring that's occurring on the property. This is documentation of my ongoing communication with third parties who are facilitating criminal conduct on the property. 228 is that understand this is for purposes of speaking to the reality of what is state conduct. The state literally engineers noise everywhere. So because you are hearing noises coming through the ceiling, for example, or through the wall as I'm standing at the vanity, at the mirror, while I'm, for example, washing my hands or just standing at the mirror, the state creates noise. This does not necessarily mean that there is someone on the opposite side hitting the surface. Understand that. What I do is deliberate. Okay, so with regard to communicating the fact that it is 228, and that is because the reality is there was someone in that room on the opposite side of the wall, and that is the, logical explanation, dealing with them in their thwarted, demented reality where monitoring is not ongoing. Okay, and so dealing with them in both, and I'm documenting it as well. So dealing with them in their altered reality where they're not monitoring, because you're not going to get anywhere with a third party group stalker. Everything they say is audible activity. They're liars. They're engaged in group criminal conduct. All right, so you're hearing loud booming coming through the wall, which is at the side of 228. They are monitoring. It is audible activity, whether it is actually that group stalker in that room hitting the wall, or the state that is literally engineering, artificially creating what is noise coming from that direction inside of this room. Irrespective of the way in which the state is creating audible activity inside of the room, it is audible activity occurring with simultaneity to what they are monitoring, as I am doing on the internet, and it is logically explained by 228, because that's where the sound comes from. So understand what I'm doing. Because you are hearing it from a certain direction or location does not mean that it is actually 228. They are group stalkers. They maintain presence in the path. They are monitoring as the state and third parties alike are engaged in ongoing activity creation, audible activity creation. All right. And so dealing with them in their twisted universe, all right, that basically has been imploded, I'm continuously documenting, and I am providing what is blame to the third party that is to be logically responsible for what is noise coming through the wall behind the television, all right? And that's the purpose of what I am communicating. So let's be clear, it is no way limiting what the psychopath, that is the state of California, the public entity that is monitoring and stalking in planes and helicopters, and doing so at an accelerated rate, by the way, while it is monitoring the documentation that is going back years, which is tying together that which I have continuously documented. And so again, this is a demonic system. All right. So the criminal system, the criminal elements I've already laid down, this is a demonic system. And so this demonic entity is literally engaging in expressing its rage as it's booming through the wall, as it's creating earthquakes and vibrating the ground. This is reasonably construed. How do you legally analyze that? That's a threat while you're monitoring, all right? That's federal level harassment while you're monitoring. And this is that which every single last one of them are on the security cameras documenting themselves. This is all which is attributed to Economy In, a third-party facilitator. This is that which is attributed to the people of the state of California. So this is all ongoing while I am uploading documentation onto my podcast, while I am publishing onto my website, thepatternofconduct.wordpress.com. And this has been ongoing. I documented last night, it was actually early morning on Tuesday, April 27th at around 1, where I uploaded with regard to Spectrum's engagement in that pattern of conduct as they're ratcheting up their engagement in audible activity creation. Spectrum engaging in blocking television, which is activity creation, and light activity creation inside of what is a private space, acting in concert with the third parties that began that demonic group conduct. They start patrolling around the room, and the state starts amplifying that activity, and the state starts creating what is artificially engineered sound of what is supposed to be cars that are heard roaring inside of the room. The sound isn't going anywhere. The state is literally just communicating a threat, All right, that's how you legally analyze that, and it is pathetic because it's not realistic. That's not traffic that you're hearing in the room. This is the same tactics that the state engages in. It's just doing it at a different venue, and so this is documenting as I'm calling the front office and reporting to them what is ongoing conduct. Okay, they're always engaged in this conduct. This is ongoing documentation of continuing the same, and I just wanted to note that it's 9/11 p.m. on Tuesday, April 27th. And as I am uploading my documentation, again, I'm publishing that which I have maintained and that which is already established. Understand this demonic entity operating over the people of the state, over the government, that is severely hostile to the fact that it is going to be prosecuted in a forum of a federal court. It is going to be charged as the group stalking, sex offending psychopath operating as an entity that it is. This is going to happen. All right. And this is the expression of hostility. That's the demonic context I'm providing for you. The legal analysis is that it is a communication of a threat by a government that's monitoring directly and vicariously through the people of the state of California who are maintaining group presence in the path. All of them are group stalkers on surveillance cameras at this property. Every single last one of them. All right. And this is speaking to show what they're engaged in. And so I call the front office and I report what is noise coming through the wall, which they're doing at all times. All right. This is just going to further documentation of more of the same. It's 9:12 p.m. and that's P.O.C. All right, it is April 27th, still Tuesday. It's 11:49 p.m. This is a follow-up to the documented conversation, which is ongoing monitoring. Monitoring is ceaseless, okay? And so as I operate with these third-party group stalkers in their alternate universe, and I just merely request that 228, which is where the audible activity is originating from, that side of the hotel room, and the third-party owner, the manager, the female, states, okay, I can call them. That was her response. I want to be clear. I want to document this is relevant to what is federal level harassment while you are ceaselessly monitoring with the state. This is third-party and state engaging in concerted conduct. Third parties are present in relevant position while the state is manufacturing audible activity. Third parties maintain relevant position while they create activity that the state is amplifying, targeted, and sound, literally placing a microphone to it. And I want to be clear, after making that call, the activity increased, all right? And they added music to that. And again, the state is amplifying everything. So while they are talking, like I am talking now, not yelling, you're hearing what is a conversation. Understand that's audible activity. It is also that which you are not going to hear when you are engaged in conversation. The state is amplifying the sound of what is supposed to be water running through the walls, pipes. This is the creation of noise. It's all audible activity. And let me also be clear, under facts where a government is monitoring, everything that is serving the criminal elements is going to federal prosecution. I want to be clear on that. But second of all, let me also be clear, there is no explanation whereby you're going to state that this is that which is occurring always on the property. This is not, first of all, that's not the case. I am showing how everything in the environment, every single person in a relevant position, everything you're seeing and hearing is deliberate. The state is maintaining absolute control, and that level of obsession and stalking is personified in the activity that surrounds. Everything is serving that same ongoing purpose. And I just want to be clear, activity increased after I made that call to management, as I foretold would be the case. And this is pursuant to documentation. This is monitoring conduct. This is going to the prosecution. This is all attributed to the venue where I remain. They're facilitating criminal conduct. All right. This is all serving the government's ability to monitor an American citizen, which is a threat to my life, my physical safety. It is sexually violent group conduct. This is all that they are engaging in. And what the state does, the people of the state of California are jointly engaged in that. What third parties do, they are doing in concert with the government. They are doing it on behalf of the government. The government is doing it. This is how group conduct works. This is how federal group stalking and monitoring is legally analyzed. So at 9:54 p.m., I also want to note the state creating what is audible activity amplified using the sound of helicopter activity. At 10:22, repeating that, the use of what is helicopter activity. This is audible activity for purposes of monitoring. And this is also that which the state typically is literally just playing I call it literally just pressing play on a tape and using a microphone to target it into my room. But irrespective of that, dealing with them in their twisted universe, that'll be attributed to the state as stalking. The state is stalking. The state amplifies the sound of helicopter activity at 9:54 and 10:22. Ongoing use of plane activity amplified inside of the room. And this is while I am uploading podcasts onto my documentation onto my podcast, and I finished that not too long ago. It's 11:52 p.m. and I completed that task of a series of podcasts that I updated and understand what is relevant to note, what is going toward this ongoing ceaseless system, is the fact that while I'm engaged in that, which the state is monitoring, the state is engaging in that demonic feature, which is ratcheting up that level of activity. This is that demonic entity operating over this government, over that is acting vicariously through the people. This is demonic activity, and they are ratcheting up that aggression and using activity as a means of impliedly communicating that aggression, all right? It is also monitoring conduct. It is also that which is legally, under federal law, is going to be that which is reasonably construed as a threat while you are continuously monitoring. And you're monitoring that which is documentation about your criminal conduct, speaking to what is the impermissible threat. All of this is going toward that prosecution. This is what I'm subject to as I remain in the room at Economy N. This is the increase of that activity, adding music, engaging in what is sounding like the third parties coming from the sound of the sound, which again is amplified. If I drop a pencil on the floor, you're not going to hear that in 228 or in 226, okay? But this is what the state is doing. So what it sounds like, someone's dropping something on the floor, but it is that which is occurring, sounding as though it is on a microphone, like you're dropping an iron on the floor inside of my room, okay? This is how loud it is, and they're increasingly doing that while I am uploading podcast after podcast from 2020 about the ongoing criminal conduct, which is continuous to date. And so this is tethering what my paper trail shows I was doing on the internet, documentation of my reporting that criminal conduct. That is also documentation of the ongoing P.O.C. And this is speaking to what I was doing and what the state was doing, not only in response to what I'm publishing, but also pursuant to ongoing federal group stalking and monitoring, engaging in federal harassment and threatening conduct pursuant to that ongoing monitoring conduct. Because they're monitoring me, because they know exactly what I'm doing, they're engaging in more of the same, which is serving the criminal purpose of harassment, the criminal purpose of threatening conduct while you are monitoring, and speaking to the ongoing stalking and monitoring conduct in concert with the people of the state who are acting in concert with that entity. They are on cameras, and I want to be clear, at 11:49 p.m. is when I started this particular one, I believe, and the third party will be seen slamming a trunk, all right? And this is what it sounds like, because it is so loud, it has impact inside of the room. You're on the first floor in the parking lot. You're closing your trunk, and you're closing your trunk at the same time that I happen to be picking up my phone. That's called stalking with activity. And it's also concerted conduct with the state that is amplifying it such that it is creating impact inside of the room, all right? This is what the state is doing with the sound of cars, because I'm at a hotel where Euclid Avenue is on the west side of the parking lot, and the 60 freeway is south of this parking lot. So the state uses what is supposed to be traffic that you're hearing in the room. This is not the case. Understand how the government operates. Understand how the system works. The state engages in stalking. The state engages in monitoring conduct. This is the creation of activity under the guise of something that you're supposed to assume is something else, all right? Because this is a system that is supposed to dismiss the target individual's claims. Oh, no, she's not hearing cars in the room. That's the traffic. Of course, you're not going to hear traffic in the room, and you're certainly not going to hear it at that volume. You're certainly not going to hear it at that constant rate, and it is certainly not going to constantly be occurring with at the same time that you happen to be engaging in movement or activity, and including that which is not physical, that which is on an electronic communication device. And this is a behavioral pattern. This is how they are engaging in this unlikely conduct pursuant to the same behavioral pattern. That's the absence of coincidence. Under the totality of circumstances, where a state is stalking, where a state is directing light in impossible manners as well, where the state is stalking with a literal light source over the parking lot during the day, where they are creating all manner of activity that the state is applying a microphone to. And so I want to be clear, third parties on the entirety of this property engaging in that, and they are they are monitoring, all right, with communication devices in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 2261A subsections 1 and 2. They are also engaging in what is the implied threat, communicating hostility to that which they're monitoring, which is my documentation about their criminal conduct, which is going to that intense federal prosecution. It is Tuesday, April 27, 2021. It's 11:57 p.m. And that is all that the state is doing on a constant basis. This is just my specifically, pointing out times and dates that they're engaging in that which they are engaging in on a ceaseless basis. All right. Stalking doesn't stop. Amplifying activity does not stop. Everything that you see them doing on security cameras, which is a matter of documentation, is pursuant to that criminal conduct. There isn't anything that you're doing in relevant position that is in any way unrelated to the P.O.C. All right. This is demonic activity that is also being observed on the cameras, and these third parties are present, and everything that they're doing is inspired by what they are aware that I am doing inside of my room. That's what you don't see on camera. They're closing their trunks and opening their car doors and walking back and forth and crossing paths and entering and exiting the parking lot, walking past, standing in front of my room, standing around in relevant position, anywhere in the parking lot. They're all in relevant position. They're doing that pursuant to ongoing group real-time knowledge of what I am doing in my room as I am doing it. That is being of an unprecedented level of a sex offender engaging in corporate invasion of privacy by entity. This is inherent to the state's system of monitoring with communication devices, and this is P.O.C. headquarters. And this is just documentation of that after I report it. I don't report it because I'm expecting it for it to stop. I'm being monitored, and the government has demonstrated its intent to continue that criminal conduct. That's going toward the formation of federal policy, how you handle that. With regard to the third parties, that's going toward their prosecution. I don't call because I think they're going to actually stop monitoring. That is serving a criminal purpose, making that noise. And my description of the characteristics, the character of everything that is going on pursuant to that, it's the same that I have documented from day one. It is ongoing. That's going toward their prosecution. All right, that's why I document it. It is 11:59 p.m. going into now Wednesday, April 28th, 2020, and that is the P.O.C.